Hello. How's it going? Hopefully everyone's having a good Wednesday. I'm glad you like the thumbnails. Yeah, excited for this week. We're just going to keep moving forward with our modeling assignment, right? I guess not assignment, our modeling project for the semester in class. Just to go through some stuff, some kind of housekeeping things for the week. Let's take a look here. Just to go over kind of, because you have a couple things you need to submit this week as far as assignments go for our class. So let's make sure I'm giving you the information you need. Good to hear. Good to hear. My daughter had the throw up flu. Not last night, but the night before, and it was not very fun. But other than that, it's been okay. Memorial Day was kind of lame because it just rained all day. But other than that, I just played Persona 5 on my PS5. It's the first time I'm playing through that game, so it's pretty fun. Let's see here. My internet is being slow today. Hopefully that is not affecting the stream quality. I don't know if it's the university site that's having an issue or something. It's being slow though. Mill just typed E. I don't know what E means, but what is happening? Hello? Canvas? Oh, okay. Cool. Glad it's okay. I don't know what's happening with this. Why is this being so slow? I need to open a new one? Because that worked just fine, and that went through okay. This works just fine. It goes through. And then I go to Canvas. Is Canvas down right now? Oh, there we go. Cool. I don't know what the deal was with that. Okay, so you have your week 3 check-in due tonight, okay? So what that means is when we're done with the stream today, wherever you're at with your model at that point after the stream, or by 11:59 tonight, wherever you're at with your model, turn that in at that point, okay? So technically you should be pretty much to where we're at from last week's stream, and then whatever you get done from today, that will be your check-in, right? The character we're creating in the stream, the human that we're doing in the stream, okay? I'm not too worried about your out of class characters yet, but yeah, so it'll be the one that we're doing together on the stream. And yeah, just do a couple screenshots and then the Maya file. And if you don't know how to do that, I can show you near the end of the stream. I'll show you guys how to save out your Maya files. I think I went over saving last time, but just in case, we'll go through it one more time. But so that's the week 3 check-in. Okay, so just where you're at this point in time for the week. It's just kind of a way to keep you honest and make sure that you're keeping up with what's happening in the streams, right? Because if you submit your week 5 check-in, which we will probably be a decent way into the chest and possibly the arm, if you are not, caught up, then it's an issue, right? So it's just a way to keep yourself honest, way to get some points. And then your finished hand, okay? This is saying July 2nd. This should not be July 2nd. So let me change this. I don't know what that is. This will be next week because we should finish the hand today. So let me edit this. I'm not sure why that happened. This should be next Wednesday. Because today is the... No. Does that say... Oh, that says July 2nd. We're June 2nd. That's fine. That's fine. That should be just fine. This may get changed a little bit. Yeah. Yes, Biscuit. It's like... So if you don't finish everything that happened in the stream today, that's okay. But really what I'm hoping for is that you have what we did last week done and a little bit of what we did today in that check-in, just to make sure you're keeping on track, right? This says July 2nd, so don't worry about this. I was reading June 2nd. This is fine. Don't worry about this yet. We may be finished with the hand today, to be completely honest with you. So this may get updated, but we'll figure that out by the end of the class today. If that's the case, then you'll just turn in the hand. I'll change the due date like a week or so out for the hand, and then you can turn that in. And that's where some points, it gets graded in a lot more harsh detail than just the check-ins do. Okay. This will be the actual like hand, right? When it's all said and done. Okay, so I'm going to open up where we were at. Any questions on that as far as that goes? And then obviously we'll have a attendance question today too, right? Is it okay? Just a little bit of work today for check-in. For the check-in, I'd like you to at least have what we did last week, which you'll see in just a second, which will be wherever my stuff is saved. I don't remember where I saved my... Now my Maya is being very slow. Give me 1 second. We can close this if we need to. Let's see here. Where did I save that? I thought I saved it in here. Oh, I did. Why was it being so weird? Maya 2022. I saved it right here. I don't know why it's being dumb. You want to say hi to everyone, Chloe? Okay, come here. You want to say hi or no? Okay. Okay, this is open. Now let's do this. Okay, never mind. That's fine. I don't know what's going on with that. Okay, so this is where you should be from last week, right? And I'm going to do what I did last week and take that keycap off of here because I will seriously tap that keycap all stream and it will drive me nuts. So let's do this real quick. Just pop the Windows key off so I don't tap it. Or else I'll tap it all stream and it will drive me nuts. Okay, so this is where, like I said, this is where we got to at the end of the last stream. So let's see. I'm sorry, I'm getting talked at by little children. This is the right one, right? I think. Yes. Okay. So with that being said, the check-in, somebody asked if you can have a little bit of work done. I at least want, like I said, I at least want this stuff done, right? That we did last week. Now I'm jacking everything up on here. And then wherever we get to today, if you need a little bit more time with that, that's fine. But let's at least try to get that stuff done. Okay. So for the rest of the day, or the rest of the stream today, what we're going to work on is getting the rest of the hand built out. Okay. So we're going to work on one, like proportioning and positioning of these things, right? Our fingers are all a little kind of weird right now. We need to get the thumb attached. Then we'll probably need to do some geometry reduction on the palm, as well as add in a little bit more details on the top of the hand, like knuckles, tendons, and things like that. And then we'll get the thumb in as well, and then we'll get it all posed, right? So your hand will, ultimately be posed. In the thumbnail, you saw a hand that we had done in the past for the class. I just kind of photoshopped it in there to make it look like it was my hand, right? So, but that's kind of the idea. We want to have the hand posed in sort of a natural position like this, right? If you're just resting, your hands kind of sit something like this. Your hand doesn't sit flat and fully extended when you're at rest. Your muscles aren't activated, so that your hand just kind of sits, right? So we'll have a natural pose like that for it, okay? And then if we have time, we may... I don't think so. I don't think we'll have time. I think that's where we'll get to today. We'll just finish up the hand. And then next week we'll work on we'll start the body, and then we'll work on attaching the hand to the body. We'll get there. But so today, by the end of the stream today, I'd like to have the hand complete. Okay. So there's a few different steps. All the tools that we'll be using today should be very similar to the tools that we used last time, right? We will be doing some scaling. I am going to show you soft select though today, which is not a hard tool to use. It's pretty straightforward, but we will go through soft select. Excuse me. But the first thing I want to do here is get this thumb attached, okay? And in order to do that, we actually are going to delete out some geometry, okay? And where that thumb is going to attach is going to be right here, okay? So we're going to delete out some faces here on this thumb. Yep. Okay. Oh my gosh. My daughter got a hold of an Amazon ordering magazine and is like showing me every toy in there that she can possibly show me. Okay, sorry guys. So we're gonna delete some faces out here, okay? Also make sure when you're clicking on faces that you don't click faces you don't need. I'm gonna turn off the grid here for a minute. So again, I'm going to hold shift. I jumped over to face mode. So I right click and hold. My radial menu pops up. I'm going to jump into face mode. I'm going to hold shift and click and delete some faces here. And I also am going to take my finger here and duplicate this. So I'm going to hit Control D on my keyboard and then hit W to move. And move a finger over. I just want to keep one spare one over here, but I want to use this one as the thumb. And what I'm going to do for the thumb is I'm going to take the thumb right below the knuckle, okay? So I'm going to use the thumb from this point down, right? And then I'm going to increase the size of this because your thumb's a little bit bigger, right? Maybe a little bit stubbier, so you can adjust that. It's a little bit wider maybe too. So you can adjust that how you see fit, okay? You could even take the nail and adjust it a little bit if you want. However you want to make this thumb work and look proper. But just know that before you attach this, you may want to adjust how it looks, right? So I just kind of fixed that up a little bit, tried to vary it a little bit from the tip of the finger. Like I said, there's some things you can do to make this a little bit more stout, make it look more like a thumb, however you want to do that. Okay. But essentially what I'm going to do is position this thumb over here as if it were attached to the hand and rotate it in such a way that makes sense for a thumb. Okay. So I'm bringing it over here. I'm rotating it. I'm going to rotate it outwards. And almost as if this thumb were attached. Just imagine the geometry that's here and kind of how this thumb would sit. Okay. So if you're looking at your hand like this, might be worth, taking a look at your hand. Use your hand as a reference, right? You have one right in front of you. So you can look at these, try to see how that sits, right? If you were to have, something that looks like this, where does that thumb sit in space? Okay. Yes, you'll need to have at least the fingers done. I'd like you to have, essentially it's just showing me where you're at this point, but hopefully you have, what was finished in class last week done at this point, right? So that you can continue on. So I'm just kind of looking at how this thumb would sit in space. Okay. You can change the pivot point of the thumb by hitting D, but the reason why the pivot point is at the base right here is because I just deleted it from the finger. If I wanted to, I could go modify and then center pivot on this, and that would change it to the center of the thumb. If you want to change the pivot point, you can hit the D key on your keyboard, D as in dog, and then you'll see that the pivot point changes how it looks, and then you can move this wherever you want that pivot point to be. And then to set the pivot point, you just hit D again and it will set that pivot point. Now, if you want to reset the pivot point, then you do need to tap the D key again and then click somewhere in the open space. Okay, so that will hopefully, it's not working the way I want it to right now. I don't know why. Modify center pivot, D. Usually what will happen is if you hit the D key and have it sitting out in the open space, it will have a little reset thing next to it, which is being weird right now. But you can reset it by hitting modify center pivot, and that should be fine too. I'll just step back a little bit because I didn't mind where that pivot point was at. Okay. Yeah, delete all of the finger up to this point because we are going to reattach the thumb and we don't want all of this geometry right now. We're going to rebuild the thumb a little bit over here. So what's going to happen next, now that I've kind of set the thumb in space where it belongs over here, I'm going to shift click both of these objects in object mode, right? So I'm going to click, hold shift, and then click. To return the pivot to the original position, you hit modify and then center pivot right here. Okay, let's see here. So, like I said, I'm going to click, hold shift, click the other object, okay? And then I'm going to go to mesh, combine, which is under the mesh menu here, and you can hit combine, or in your modeling toolkit, I believe there is also a combine mesh right here. So you could do it in your modeling toolkit if you're more comfortable over here. If you want to grab it from the mesh menu up here, either one works. You could also marquee select both of the objects, which is clicking and dragging, right? And selecting them like this. And then you just hit combine, okay? They should both turn green. That means they've been turned into one object. If you move them, they would move as one object, right? The reason we have to do that is if I want to attach, kind of like we did with the fingers to the palm, if I want to attach this thumb to this finger, I can't attach them if they're separate objects. So I need to combine them into one object first, okay? The nice thing here is that we should have the same number of edges here, which is 8, as well as the same number of edges here, which is 8, in order to connect these objects, okay? If you do not have 8 edges here, it will not allow you to bridge the objects together, okay? So, you need to make sure you have the right amount of edge loops. So let's say you have something like this, right? And maybe you only have 4 or 6 edge loops. Just cut another edge loop through here with your multi-cut tool, right? By holding control, that will give you enough edge loops to then attach the thumb, okay? If you were following my video point for point, then you should have the right amount of faces or the right amount of edges to attach, but that's the only problem that will occur is if you have either hidden faces somewhere from an errant extrusion, or if you don't have enough edge loops over here so that both the tip of the thumb here and the base of the thumb can connect to each other, okay? So the way that I'm checking that again is through my poly count widget up here at the top. So if you want to turn that on, you can go to Windows, and it's under, sorry, it's not under Windows. It's under Display. It's under Heads Up Display, and it's under Poly Count right here. So if you turn that on, Display, Heads Up Display, Poly Count, you can turn this on, and that's how I am counting these number of edges. Okay, so I'm double clicking here to make sure that they're the same amount. And now that if I want to connect these and do a bridge, right, and get these all hooked up, there's a couple ways you could go about doing it, but the fastest way that's going to be the most efficient, I believe, is to double click here on the base of the thumb or the tip of the thumb right here, and then as well as on the opening on the palm that we created. So I'm going to hold shift, double click that, hold shift, double click this, and that will click both openings. Okay. Now you can see they're both selected. They're both highlighted in orange. Okay. And then I'm going to hit bridge, which is under components in your modeling toolkit. There's this bridge icon. It looks like 3 polygons with an orange highlighted polygon in the middle. If you click bridge, it should bridge those together. Okay. And what it did was just throw some geometry in there for us, which is just fine. And what we're going to do is kind of use this geometry to model and sculpt out our thumb. But what it did for us was kind of build out that geometry and create that for us really quickly, right? Which is good. So we'll come through here and adjust this and edit this and make it look a little bit better. But for right now, this is what we want to do. If you wanted to, when you do that bridge, you can add some, excuse me, you could add some divisions. So after you hit bridge, all I did was Control Z back a couple steps. So after you hit bridge right here, there's this little window that pops up, and you can choose how many divisions you want in there. This one is kind of being weird. I don't want to taper on there. I also don't want to twist on there, but for some reason the one division is weird. Not sure why it's doing that. Why it's crunching like that. That's weird. If it does that to you and you can't get it to uncrunch itself, just don't do the divisions there and just use your multi-cut tool and cut them in yourself. It shouldn't be an issue. So I did add a couple of subdivisions there. Okay. And then what I want to do is just try to shape this thumb into a more realistic looking thumb, right? And so what I'm going to do is what we call pixel pushing, right? I'm going to do a lot of just moving individual vertices to kind of sculpt this and make it look a lot nicer. Again, just using my own hand as a kind of a reference here. I'm just going to try to do my best to arrange this and make it feel a little bit more realistic. You'll see there's kind of a big break in this, which feels a little weird. So if we needed to, we could do something like this. Grab the thumb here. Change the pivot point to something like right here. And then rotate this to get this not feeling so awkward. And then we can go about kind of sculpting this. If we want to reposition the thumb a little bit, we can. But I'm just going to try to do my best to make this feel more natural. If I want to shorten this up a little bit, I can. There we go. Your new divisions are green. Oh, I think I know what's happened. You may have lost association to your texture. If it looks something like, oh, how do I do this? Let's go here. Can I delete my Lambert? Let's assign a new Lambert. Let's see. Lambert. Okay, then if I go to delete this. Okay. Does it look something like this? Cameron, is this what you're seeing? Like some new divisions look like this? Let me know if this is what you're seeing, because this is a pretty easy fix. It's just you've lost association to the texture. And if that's the case, if it looks something like this, what you can do is take this and just hit right click and assign existing material and just hover over Lambert 1. So it's okay, cool. So if it's all the way at the bottom, if you right click and hold and scroll all the way to the bottom, it says assign existing material. Just go assign existing material and then hover over to Lambert 1 and let go, and it should fix everything. Cool. Yeah, that just means you lost association to the texture. Sometimes that happens. Not a huge deal. Should be able to fix it pretty easily just by reassigning the Lambert. Okay, I'm just gonna keep kind of sculpting this thumb here. I'm also gonna check out the bottom here. Kind of adjust how this looks. You kind of have a pad on your thumb. If you look, like your thumb sort of creates this round piece here, this pad almost right here on the inside of your palm. So I'm going to start trying to shape that out a little bit. by grabbing vertices and just moving one individual vertice at a time, just trying to shape. This is kind of the way that you go about sculpting if you're trying to be kind of meticulous here. So I'll just go and kind of lift and pull some vertices up one by one. This is where it's also useful to use what's called soft select. Okay. So I'm going to show you how soft select works. What we do with soft select is if we click on a face or a vertice, let's go to vertices just to show you. So if I click on one individual vertice and I hit the B key, B as in box, right? You'll see that this sort of gradient pops up around that vertice that I have selected. Okay. How do you get the pivot point to line back up with the points you click on? That should be pretty easy as well. So if you click on that point, you hit D, maybe you moved your pivot point. If you're selected on a vertice and you click in the open space while you have your move pivot activated, which is with the D key, D as in dog, right? So if I hit D, you'll see that if I hover over the gray space, right, you'll see this little reset cursor pop up, okay? And then if I just click, it will reset it to the vertice. Okay, so back to soft select. So if I'm clicking on a vertice and I have a vertice selected and I tap the B key, B as in boy or box or whatever you want to say, but B key, okay? That gradient pops up. And what you'll notice is if I move that vertice with that gradient turned on, it's going to move everything around it as well, okay? That gradient is almost like a fall off point. So things that are more yellow are going to be more closely affected, right? As it falls off to red and closer to black, it's less affected, okay? To change that area of effect, all you have to do is hold that same B key and then click and drag, okay? And you'll see that there's a little circle that kind of pops up and shows you where that gradient's going to, right? So B key and click and drag. So you're holding B and then clicking and dragging left to right to change that area of effect. And then you can use that. It's kind of a helpful sculpting tool if you're just trying to move things one at a time or try to move things kind of in a general area. It can also be annoying if you're trying to get like one point up, right? But that pivot point or that soft select can be really helpful if you're trying to sculpt. So what I'm trying to do right now, right, is sculpt sort of that padded area of the palm up. So if yours is really small, right? Oh, no worries. Might be a little bit behind me, but that's okay. Yeah, it's the B key. B key and then click and drag while you're holding B. So that will change that area of effect. So I'm just trying to sculpt this a little bit. Then I just want to hit the 3 key and kind of see how stuff looks, right? Because again, we're trying to build a hand, right? So the one thing that looks weird right now is that all my fingers are the same size. We need to get some knuckles on here. Also, maybe put a little bit more of a natural bend in this thumb. But that's okay. Once we get it kind of sculpted up, then we can kind of work on posing as well. So, but I just want to look at how this thumb is kind of positioned, right? And it could mean like adjusting some of this stuff too, like don't necessarily like how short the tip of this thumb is. So I may kind of scoot the knuckle back just a little bit. I'm not saying that yours looks the same, but I might try to scoot this back a little bit. And the way I'll go about doing that is by using the pivot point to do so. Or, I mean, I can even just click and drag and kind of eyeball too. But just trying to get that thumb to look a little bit more natural. Maybe that needs to come down even a little bit more. And then we can always adjust, right? Your bridge is turning green when you click. Good question. You've probably lost association to your texture as well. So what you can do is go to object mode, and re-highlight your model and just go to assign existing material and hit Lambert 1, and that should fix it. So if you're there, it was the same fix for Cameron, I believe. If you right click and hold on your object, say you've got some faces that are green, then right click and hold on your object, go to assign existing material and just click Lambert 1 or hover over Lambert 1 and let go. And that should fix that green that's happening. So that thumb is feeling a lot better. Looking a lot more like a thumb than a weird finger. That's looking a lot better. Okay, cool. What I want to do still is kind of sculpt up this hand, right? So I'm going to jump back to the 1 key, go back to vertex mode, hit B, maybe increase this a little bit. And I'm just going to work on kind of sculpting the palm just a little bit. How that works or looks. As well as maybe how the base of the hand looks too. I'm just kind of sculpting out the pads on the fingers. Okay. just adjusting all these kind of pads on the hand, right? We've worked on kind of sculpting out the palm. I've kind of done it one vertex at a time, but it's working. We're just trying to get the shape of the hand. We also need to kind of take in some of these angles here because this looks a little funny, right? So I'm just doing this one vertex at a time, kind of shift clicking these around, trying to round out this hand a little bit. Same thing happening here. Trying to round it out because, again, your hand's not this square object, right? Even though we don't have like a crazy amount of vertices here to work with, we want to make sure that it looks decent. I'm going to kind of shape these pads a little bit, try to round these out. Just, again, look at the bottom of your hand. This is a lot of like judging for yourself how things look, right? So taking a look at your hand, like your own hand, judging it kind of based off of what you're looking at. Right now we're kind of modeling from a live reference of your own hand, right? When we start modeling the human body a little bit more that we're working on here, we'll use a reference that we pull into the software. But for this, it's just kind of judging it and eyeballing it. You could pull in a hand reference, but I like to do this method first just to give you a little bit of an experience and a little bit of a crash course into like using your artistic eye to see how stuff looks, right? I'm shaping the knuckles on the back of the hand now. Okay. So this is the back of the hand, and then we're going to do some extrusions for these knuckles, right? Kind of the same way we did the knuckles on the fingers. Just shaping those a little bit. Then we'll work on getting those kind of sculpted. But when you press that 3 key, you want to make sure that things are lining up and feeling good. Pretty happy with how that's looking right now. There's kind of a weird line happening here, but that's okay. A lot of this geometry is going to get reduced down anyways, which is fine. I'm happy with how that hand's looking right now. Okay. The next step, as far as this hand goes, is now we have these fingers to deal with, right? Although we could do the knuckles too, so maybe we just go about doing that real fast. I mean, there's pluses and minuses. If we scale the fingers and get those scaled, then we can just, let's do the knuckles after the fact. Hi to everyone. Wave and say hi to the stream. Say hi and then look at the camera.
Hi, everyone.
Say it in here so they can hear you.
Hi, everyone.
Okay. Will you shut that door for me? So let's do the knuckles afterwards. I think it's fine. You could do it either way, but I think for me, I want to scale these fingers, kind of pose them, and then I'll extrude the knuckles. Okay. So what I want to do is take a look at your hand, right? Kind of judge. Everybody's hand is different, right? So I'm modeling off of my own hand. So my hand may end up looking a little bit different than yours, just because you're going to model it closer to how your hand looks. I've got these big, massive mitts, right? And they're kind of like, I've got kind of big hands, right? They're, I don't know, just like sausage fingers almost. So my hand may end up looking a little bit different than yours. If you've got like a more, if you're, depending on how that hand looks, right? So But take a look at it, kind of judge that the longest finger, right? My longest finger on my hand is my middle finger. It's really great for flipping people off. But just kind of judge that and look at your hand, and then we'll come over here, and then I'm going to kind of work on scaling these, right? So looking at that, my middle finger is the longest finger. I also have the shakes, so my hands are going to sit here and do this while I'm trying to show them to you, right? So I'm going to look at this middle finger as my kind of starting point, right? And then I'll judge my index finger based on my thumb and all those things, and then we'll scale kind of like that, right? So if my middle finger is my longest finger and I judge it based on my palm, my middle finger is almost the same length as my palm. Okay, so if I take my middle finger and put it here, it's almost the same length as my palm. So I'm going to come here and just kind of take a look at this and just visually kind of see this is generally about the same length. So I'm going to use this as my basis, right? I may extend out this middle finger, but I think this is where I'm going to start from. Long, skinny, and creepy. Just remember that you have to attach this hand to a human body later. So for what it's worth, you know, you may want to adjust the hand however you're thinking. I know that I'm going to be modeling kind of a bulkier, like kind of not over exaggerated, but kind of a little bit exaggerated male character, right? For this human body, right? So if my hand is like a skinny Pennywise hand, that's not going to quite like match up, right? But yeah. Okay. So I'm going to use the middle finger as my basis of scale, or base of reference. Okay. And then what I want to do is take my index finger here, and I'm going to highlight all the way down to the bottom of the finger right here. So I'm going to marquee in vertex mode like this. I'm going to look around and make sure I've got things kind of set properly. And then I'm just going to, if you also look at your hand isn't a perfect straight line across. Your hand almost has like an arch to it. So this kind of does like an arch, almost like this, right? So I'm going to just push this down, and I could even take all the way to the knuckle if I wanted. Deselect a couple of vertices that I don't want selected here. And then I could take this and kind of push this down a little bit, and then I might scale it down just a hair. Okay. So I'm kind of pushing it down and scaling it down, right? My index finger is not that much shorter than my middle finger. So I can come in here and do this. You could even turn on, if you wanted to, you could turn on soft select. But granted, that will kind of mess up some other things around it. So just however you feel that makes sense when you're moving that around. I'm going to scale it like this a little bit. Can I condense it here and then move it down just a little bit? Maybe even condense it a little bit more. Nothing crazy. And then I am also going to take that finger and rotate it out. Okay, because right now I'm going to work on kind of taking my fingers from doing this straight looking thing here that's happening, and I'm going to splay them out because your fingers don't sit in straight lines against your palm, right? So I'm going to take my pivot point by hitting D. I'm going to move it to the middle of this knuckle, okay? Then I'm going to hit E, and I'm going to rotate this out. Okay. Not too crazy. I don't want to do this, right? I'm just kind of tilting it out a little bit, right? Again, I'm using my index finger as my base of reference. Okay, so I'm taking this here, gonna hit E, rotate this out. Okay. Cool. That's already starting to feel way better. And we may need to come back in here and adjust some things. But we can come back after the fact and do so. Okay. If that middle finger, after you've done that, needs to be extended or adjusted a little bit, go ahead and do that. So I'm going to take this guy here, grab all these. Remember, I'm just deselecting stuff I don't want selected from that marquee. Sometimes you may grab a little bit extra stuff that you don't want selected. So just kind of rotate around as you've done this. And then I'm going to push this finger up just a little bit. Okay. Cool. I don't need to scale it because remember, I'm using this one as my base of reference, but I do want to get the right arch in my hand right here, right? Next one is my ring finger. So I'm going to kind of judge my ring finger based off of my index finger. My ring finger is a little bit longer than my index finger on both hands. You can kind of see if I show it like this. My ring finger is a little bit longer. So we'll do something like that. Your fingers may be different, and that's fine. I'm just using my hand as my reference, right? So I'm going to take this and push this down a little bit and even scale this a little bit. Also make sure I've got all the vertices I want selected. So I'm going to condense this just a little bit, push this down. And then I'm going to go to my pinky finger because I'm going to come back to this ring finger and rotate it. But I want to do the pinky before I do that, okay? So we're going to come to the pinky finger. The thing about your pinky finger is in scale, right? The tip of your pinky finger is going to be smaller, right? So I'm going to take this pinky finger and hit the soft select key and try to isolate it from everything else here, and have some more stuff selected. Turn down my soft select a little bit. And I'm just going to scale this down. So my pinky finger kind of does this, where that is much smaller. Okay. The rest of my fingers are pretty close, but that pinky finger gets small, right? At the tip. So I'm going to take this again. I'm just going to try to do as good a job as I can here to scale that down. And then I need to take my whole finger. So you can even go to a top view if it makes it a little bit easier to select. And I'm going to take this whole finger and just move this down, whilst keeping this edge here. Just kind of moving this finger down. And then I want to scale it a little bit and then scale it a little bit again. Move this down. I'm just trying to check that pinky finger and where that tip of that pinky finger lines up with my my ring finger, right? Which is kind of halfway into this joint. So if I come here, scale this, move this down. That's pretty good. Okay. And then what I want to do with this, just make sure that everything kind of feels natural here. And then I'm going to take this whole pinky finger from the knuckle point out. I am going to hit D, come down here. I need to turn my Microsoft Teams off so you're not seeing my work messages. Okay. And then I am going to hit the E key here and rotate this pinky out. I may need to even pull it away from the hand a little bit here. Because it's going to feel a little bit weird until I get the ring finger kind of set here. So now I want to grab this ring finger that I skipped, right, and didn't rotate, and we're going to do the same thing. D key, put it on the knuckle here. Just double check that I've got everything selected. I'm going to turn off soft select here. We're just going to rotate this over. Okay. And again, if that's still feeling a little weird, we can take that and kind of scale it down. Oops, make sure I've got all the vertices selected that I want. Just scale it a little bit if we need to. That's feeling pretty good. Again, if we want to, now that we've done all this work, it's probably worth just retaking a look at our hand here, making necessary adjustments. See how that pad kind of got messed up there on the bottom. Just making some adjustments around our hand to make sure things make sense. Make sure you're hitting that 3 key to check the smooth mode. That's feeling okay for the most part. There's a little bit of a weirdness here, maybe. Maybe we might want to adjust that. It's actually probably okay, because when we bend, it will be a lot better. So we've done the adjustments on our hand, right? We've adjusted the fingers and things. I do want to do the knuckles now on the top to give us some more shape to the top of our hand here. So I'm going to go ahead and start doing these. I'm just going to select 4 faces at a time here on the top, very similar to the way we did the knuckles on the fingers. I'm going to hit extrude. Again, you can find extrude in your modeling toolkit over here, or on the shelf as well if you're on the poly modeling tab of your shelf. So I'll come over here and I'm going to hit extrude, hit the R key to scale, right? I'm going to scale this back on itself, and then I'm going to pull this up. So I'm going to hit W to move up. And then I don't want to leave the knuckles like that. I also don't want to make them huge, right? Like I don't have Wolverine claws coming out of these, right? I'm just trying to give myself a little bit of geometry here on this knuckle. I also don't want to leave it like a perfect square like this, because I want to hit 3 to smooth. It may not look the best, right? It looks okay right now, but we can make that look a lot nicer. So I'm going to come in here, grab my vertices, and kind of adjust this, make this look a lot nicer. Now that feels a lot better, right? A lot more natural to the hand. Okay. I'll come into the next one now. If I wanted to, I could kind of extend this out, make these a little bit wider. I'm gonna grab this one now, do an extrude, hit R, scale. Bring this up. Grabbing my vertex, hitting W. Pulling up. Again, I'm just adjusting these, kind of rounding them out a little bit. Okay. Same thing here. We'll hit extrude, hit R, scale. Maybe scale a little bit in this direction to just kind of Skinny that out. Hit W, move that up. Okay, then we'll do the pinky one last. So extrude this, hit R. Again, just adjusting this, making it feel a little bit more natural. Could probably put a counter on how many times I've said that this stream, but it's true. Then I'll check my 3 key. Just kind of see how those knuckles look. Feeling pretty good. I do kind of want to adjust something here a little bit. So I'm going to come in here, just grab like half of my hand with vertex mode. Make sure I have all the vertices I want selected. Just kind of scooted it back a little bit closer. It's feeling a little weird. I do want to adjust things in between these, so kind of the webbing here in between the fingers, that could be part of it too that is feeling weird to me. That's feeling better now. So that's actually a really great question. Okay. Should you model in smooth mode? Yes and no. Okay. If you're doing small adjustments in smooth mode, let's say, hey, I want to clean up something over here that looks a little funny, right? And you just move your vertice a little bit, right? You're just moving it very tiny amounts, okay, to make things look nice in smooth mode. That's fine. However, check back on your 1 key, because let's see if you're in smooth mode, right? If you're in smooth mode and you like really adjust something heavily, right? And it still looks okay because it's smoothed out, right? But we did something like this, right? We really came in here and adjusted this hand to have these kind of tendons coming through here, right? Now, if you go back and check your 1 key, you're going to see how much it's really affected your hand. While that might not be a huge issue, it may not be the result you were looking for, right? So, in that sense, it's not terrible. So actually, let's do that. Let's just adjust and give ourselves some tendons here on the back of our hands. Just give ourselves a little bit more shape through here, because you do have those tendons that kind of come back and run through here. So go ahead and do that in smooth mode and kind of see how it works, right? Because then when you check that smooth mode, it may be a little bit different than what you were expecting. So you might want to get used to how that functions, right? It's not a terrible thing. So when I check my smooth mode, right, that's okay. That's kind of what I was expecting. Not a terrible thing, right? So there are positives and negatives to it. Negative is that it is only a reflection of what your object looks like in smooth mode, right? Which is not terrible. It's fine. Looks okay, right? But you may not get the exact result you were looking for. So it's worth staying in your unsmoothed version a lot of the time, just to make sure you're getting what you're expecting, right, out of your model. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. As far as our hand goes, this is a pretty good hand at this point. There is a little bit of cleanup we need to do as far as the geometry reduction side, right? Because if we double click the base of the wrist here, you'll see that we have 26 edges. Okay. I want to drop that down to 12 because we're going to have a 12-sided cylinder that builds up our arm, that goes into our shoulder and into the chest. I don't want 26 edges going into the hand. So there's some ways that we can go about cleaning up geometry here to make it work a little bit better. But I don't know if we'll do that today necessarily. We may work on that as we go trying to attach the hand to the body. But what I would like to do is kind of finish posing the hand today and getting that all worked out. I went a little bit farther than I thought I was going to go last class. So today's stream might be a little bit shorter. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, right? So if we get to a point and we end today's stream a little bit early, that's just more time for you guys to work. Okay. But for the rest of the stream, what I'd like to do is work on posing the hand. Okay. And if you want, it could be wise to take your hand at this point once you have it unposed and just duplicate it. So hitting Control D and moving it off to the side. Okay. Just saving a copy. What I would do too at this point is make sure you're saved. So I'm going to save my scene just because we did a lot of work to get to this point. So I'm going to hit Save Scene As. Make sure I save it in here as a and _002. So make sure you're saved. Not, like I said, not a bad idea to get once hopefully my Maya doesn't crash trying to save. That would suck. Being slow right now. Hopefully this doesn't crash. I would be very sad if it crashed. But at the same time, it's a good learning lesson. It's going to crash. Oh, maybe not. Okay, we're good. All right. So hopefully that's saved. Let's just double check. Okay, cool. It did. So I've got kind of my backup hand and finger over here in case something breaks. Now this one, what I want to do is just start posing. Okay. The way we're going to go about doing that is by using soft select and rotations, very similar to the way we kind of splayed out the fingers here. So what I want to do is take each finger kind of one at a time and just kind of give it a more natural pose. The thumb, I'm kind of cool with where it's sitting at right now. I just want to give the rest of the hand a more natural pose. We may bend the thumb a little bit more, but we'll see. So if I'm looking at my hand, I do want to take half of the hand here, kind of like this, in vertex mode. We'll take this half. I'm going to make sure I have some stuff deselected here that I don't want selected. And then I'm going to turn on soft select and move my pivot point to the middle of my hand right here. And I'm just going to kind of roll this over just a little bit and pull this back in. I'm just ever so slightly rolling this over. just to give my hand more of that kind of arch that we talked about, right? I don't want to do something like this, right? I'm just very slightly rolling it over and bringing it back in. Okay. Nothing too crazy, just very slightly rolling it over. And then what I want to do is I'm going to just start taking these fingers and kind of posing them how your hand kind of naturally sits, right? So index finger is just kind of slightly bent. If you look at your, kind of shake your hand out and just kind of hold it where it's at, right? And then look at that sort of natural pose for your hand. Okay. Fingers are kind of curved down, right? You're not grabbing like a sword or grip or balling a fist. You're just kind of loose, hands natural pose, right? So index finger is kind of up slightly and bent, right? As you hold your hand natural. Index finger kind of sits flat, right? So let's work on doing that. So I'm going to grab my index finger. I'm going to grab it from the point where I want to bend it. So this knuckle, I'm going to take my pivot point and move it to that knuckle. I'm also going to align the rotation point to align with where the bone would kind of sit in that body. We're almost doing like a fake rig in a sense by doing this, right? Make sure that pivot point's kind of in the middle of that finger. And then you can bend, you can hit the E key and you can bend the finger from that point. Okay, we're just kind of bending it. And then we could bend the tip of the finger too. I mean, my fingertip doesn't really bend super hard at that point. So I might not even bend that tip of the finger. The pinky is the one that really kind of bends. That's interesting. Yeah. So everyone's natural position might be different. I don't care if you match the same exact natural pose of my hand, but what I don't want is just a stiff hand like this when you attach it to your body so you look like an automaton. I want it to have like a natural pose, right? So if your hand sits a little bit differently when you hold your finger naturally, that's fine. Just give it a natural pose, right? So my finger's kind of bending down there a little bit. I may even bend that a little bit more. And then bring it down. So that's good for me. My middle finger kind of does the same thing, but it bends more at this point right here. So we're going to grab the whole middle finger. Yeah, just so you guys know, as you're modeling and following along, I'm not looking for you to one-for-one copy my hand, right? If you want to do that, that's fine. But I also don't mind if you want to take the artistic liberty and, model your hand, give it a pose that's natural. What I'm trying to do is give you guys the tools in order to do this, right? So if yours ends up looking a little bit different, that's okay. As long as what I am looking for is sound geometry, right? Sound geometry, and that you followed instructions. If the shape of your hand looks a little bit different, that's fine, right? Because everybody's hands are going to be different. The D key, Ethan. D as in dog. So I'm going to do it actually again right here. So I'm going to hit the D key, move my pivot point over here, kind of the base of my finger right here to where that's going to bend from. Oops. I'm going to rotate that so that it's sitting kind of where the bone is. Make sure that's in the middle of the hand where that bone kind of sits. And then I'm going to hit the E key to rotate. And I'm going to rotate that finger down. And right now he's casting like a magic spell. That's what it looks like right now. Yeah, you can do it under rotate settings. You can also hit the D key on your keyboard. We'll do the same thing. I also need to bend this finger at the middle knuckle too. So let's take this finger and bend this bad boy right there. So I'm going to take the D key, move my pivot point just to here, move it down. Make sure that is aligned with kind of the bone, right? Then hit E and rotate. Okay, cool. Next thing I want to do is take this finger. Again, I'm just going to rotate this one as well. Kind of position this one. So I'm just making sure I have all the vertices selected that I want. I don't know if I want the knuckles selected here. I'm going to take my D key over here, move it to that knuckle, move my pivot point over here. Make sure that rotation is kind of lined up with the bone in the center of the finger, kind of where it's rotating from, and then I'm going to hit E and rotate this. Oh, make sure I got all my vertices selected. I'm just going to rotate this down. I could even turn on soft select. Rotate this down a little bit. And what's going to happen is this, might even be worth grabbing some of these to make sure that it doesn't bend so crazy. Although I think what I'm going to do is just bend it here, and then I'll have to adjust that pad there a little bit. That one bends like this. And then this part just bends back a little bit further than this finger. So now that we did that, if we just take a second to adjust this, right? Because we really messed some stuff up by doing that. Let's just take these vertices and kind of readjust these here. I mean, things are going to be a little squished, right? Because we are bending our finger right there, which is fine. If we hit that 3 key, it should look like it's pinching. But yeah, we don't want it folding over on itself. Okay. And then I'm going to take that finger at that point too, and vertex mode, and just bend it from this point. So I'll take my D key again, move my pivot point. Just make sure that is lined up kind of with the bone of the finger here. Move it, move it to center of that knuckle. Hit the E key to rotate. I'm just going to rotate this down. Okay, good. And then lastly, I mean, this kind of looks cool. It's kind of like he's casting a spell right at your face, blah, but I'm going to adjust it. Just adjust the pinky a little bit here. Like I said, get that natural pose. So let's take the pinky here, bend this one down too. Again, just making sure I've got the right things selected, which it looks like I do. Hit the D key. Let's go ahead and reset our pivot point here. Again, just making sure I've got it kind of lined up with the bone. Yeah, for sure. Anime villain hand. Yep, definitely. Okay. And I hit E to rotate. We'll just rotate this down. Again, we may really mess up our geometry a little bit over here, but that's okay. Just have to unfold a little bit. So there's a trick here that I can do where I can just grab, turn off my soft select, grab the edges that are inside here that are kind of folded in on each other. You could also use your wireframe mode to do this, just to kind of see where stuff got folded in, and then turn your shaded mode back on, and then just hit W. You can reset your pivot point. And then just do your best to kind of fix these. Again, I don't mind if it looks like it's pinching because you are bending your finger, right? But I don't want them folding over on each other. I don't mind if it looks pinched right there. Okay. I'm just going to bend the tip of the pinky here just a little bit, because mine kind of curls. So I'm going to bend it from this point as well as the tip of the pinky. So we'll take this here, hit the D key, move it to the center. Between the index and middle finger. Like this. However you want to do it. I'm cool with whatever. As long as it's posed. Okay, I'm going to rotate from here. I'm also going to rotate from here. Okay. Cool. I may adjust this thumb too, just because I feel like that's kind of a weird pose for the thumb. So let's kind of rotate this thumb a little bit. maybe bend this a little bit. Okay. All right. As far as that goes, I just want to adjust a couple things here on this thumb. Check the smooth mode. I'm feeling pretty good about that. There's some things that could be adjusted more on this hand, but I don't want to throw too much more at you this week. We just did a lot. Posted it on the Discord. Let's take a look. Oh, cool. Very cool. Nice. Okay. So I'm going to save at this point now too. I'm going to show you guys a little bit of a process to just kind of protect your project up until this point, right? Because you've done a lot of work. You don't want this object to explode on you. I didn't really give you my spiel on Maya. Maya is a kind of a hateful software. It does not care about you. It does not love you. It is a piece of software, right? If you aren't being cautious about saving, it's going to crash. It's going to blow up a model. It's going to do something, right? So make sure you're saving. Make sure you're taking the proper precautions before you're saving. One of those I'm going to show to you right now, okay? So every time before I save, after I've done a bunch of work, I usually go about by doing this, okay? I do an edit, a delete all by type, and then history, okay? What that's doing is it's just saying, okay, Maya, this object that's living in here right now is only this object, and it's only ever been this object, right? You're deleting the history of how that object became that object, because at the end of the day, Maya is a text file, right? And a text file of coordinates and how those coordinates got to that coordinate, right? So it's been moved here, right? And so if you delete the history, you're just deleting the history of how those points got to that point, right? There is an autosave, but I tend to not rely on autosave. You can set it up under it's under Windows, sorry. It's under preferences. Windows setting preferences, you can go to save over here, file projects. And you can enable autosave right here under file projects, under preferences. You can enable it. You can set up a number of autosaves, how often it autosaves. You can do that. It's kind of annoying when I'm on stream. That's why I have it turned off. Normally when I'm working and I have, a project going, I'll have it turned on just in case. For you guys, it's worth it. While I'm on stream, to have it pop up and just say save is kind of annoying for people trying to watch a video, right? But yeah, you can enable it right there through files and projects. I'm just gonna manually save this right now, so I'm gonna go save scene as. Hopefully it doesn't crash. We'll just name this 003. We'll give it a second to save out. Hopefully this does not crash. It very well could, which would be a bummer, but it's just my Maya's being slow today. I don't know what the problem is. I think it's back. Cool. Okay, so what I'd like to do is stop here, okay? Because we did get a bit ahead from the last class. Screenshots for check-ins. So here's what I'd like you to do if you're going to do your check-ins, okay? Trying to follow this kind of format, okay? So take a screenshot of one side like this, whether you use snipping tool or whatever, okay? However you want to do that. So you can do snipping tool inside of Windows. If you just type snipping, you can go like this, or take a screenshot. I just want you to go boom like this. Give me one view like this, okay? Rotate over here, give me another view like this. So go snipping tool again, boom, give me a screenshot like that. Show me the underside, give me a screenshot like that, and then show me the top. Okay, so just 4 screenshots, and then submit your Maya file. Okay, something like that. That's what I'm looking for. Okay. Give me the just the one key mode, not the smooth mesh preview. Yeah, don't give me the smooth mesh preview. Right? Give me your one key like this. Because this way I can find all your errors if any errors are happening. Sometimes in smooth mode, it's hiding stuff. You can use smooth mode to troubleshoot, but sometimes it hides stuff that I want to see. 3 or 4. I mean, if you can include the top by doing this side view and this side view, then I don't know if I necessarily need the top. I don't know what it says on the, what does it say on Canvas? Does it say 3? Let's see here. Week 3 check-in. Just says take multiple screenshots. So 3 or 4 is fine. Okay. So go boom, screenshot like that. Make sure you have your wireframe turned on, which is right here at the top, so I can at least see it, or have your object selected like this so I can see your wireframe. Because if you have it just shown like this, without your, if you just have it shaded like this, it's, I can kind of tell what's going on, but sometimes it's nice. It is nice to be able to see your wireframe. Okay. So turn that wireframe on. Give me a screenshot like this, like this, like this, you know, just so I can kind of see all the way around your model. And then if I need to do further investigation, I can open up your Maya file. Yeah, so give me something, yeah. Again, just for those of you that might have missed it, give me an angle like this. Give me another angle like this, just so I can see both sides, right? And then give me like a bottom view, or if you got more of a top, if you did more of a bottom view like this for these angles, that's fine. Just make sure I can see all the way around your hand. So if you do 3 or 4 screenshots, you should be covered. Okay. Yes, that's fine. The pose, when it's all posed and everything's all good to go, that's going to be your hand assignment, right? Because you've got a hand assignment. If you go back to your assignments, with the hand all posed and finished like I have it right now, that's going to be this assignment right here. You'll turn it in like this. So I might need to adjust this due date a little bit, but we'll talk about it next week. What you do need to do for your week 3 check-in is just wherever you're at by the end of tonight. Okay. So that's fine. Wherever you're at by the end of tonight. Just trying to keep you honest. Make sure you're trying to keep up. Okay. So a couple screenshots, and then your Maya file in there. Okay. The posed hand will be turned in this whole posed hand like this will be turned in as the finished hand assignment. Okay, so having it nice and posed like this. We'll also have it the geometry kind of broken down too, where we do some geometry reduction. Excuse me, some geometry reduction back towards the wrist. So, okay. We did end a little bit early. I usually try to go for 2 hours on these streams, but we got a little bit ahead last week, so we'll end a little bit early. Okay. Sometimes we'll go longer than the 2 hours because I think we have our class goes from 3 to 5:30, which is 2.5 hours. So I usually try to go 2 hours because I'm supposed to give you a break. But if I just go 2 hours straight, then you know you have that 30 minutes to work or whatever. Okay. But we'll end it a little bit sooner tonight. I do need to give you an attendance question, so let's throw that up on here. Notepad. Your answer is going to be, let's do soft select as the answer. Okay. Okay. So this is your answer for today, soft select, since we learned a new tool today. Okay. Cool. Thanks for hanging out. Great questions today. I'm happy with where we're at right now. We're kind of cruising through this, which is good. But I also want to make sure we're keeping a decent pace, so I'm not throwing way too much at you, right? We did a lot today, so make sure you get your hands all sculpted, looking nice, posed as the week goes forward. For your check-in tonight, just put in that check-in wherever you're at today, right? Kind of already talked about that, but just one more, just to hit that one more time. You can turn them in as PNGs. PNGs are just fine. So just turn the screenshots in as PNGs and then turn in your Maya file. Okay. All right, everybody. Hopefully you have a good rest of your week, and I will see you next Wednesday. Okay. If you have any questions or any struggles, make sure you're hitting us up on the Discord. Scheduling time. If you need time to screen share or something, let us know. Okay. I will see you all next Wednesday. Next Wednesday. Okay. See ya.